Charles, President Trump has decided there will be tariffs, and there they are.
About fucking time. I mean, it really is. I mean, the thing that's really galling to me is that for the last 4 years, and I think for 8 under Obama, 8 under Bush, and 8 under Clinton, we have been burning money in government offices across the country and around the world. And the people who've been benefiting from this burning of the money are the public servants like the Clintons and the Bidens and the Obamas, who now live in multiple expensive mansions paid for by us. These people get off-market book and investment deals. In the case of the Clintons, they were technically bankrupt when they bought their first mansion, but Terry McAuliffe, another griftmeister who belongs in prison, lent them the money to buy a mansion in Chappaqua so Hillary could pretend that she was a New York resident in time to run for the Senate. I mean, this is a rigged system. Everybody understands it. Everybody who supported Trump in the election understands it. And I would guess that given the course of what's happened since the election, that Trump's support today is significantly higher than it was on election day, and only growing as people realize that somebody who works, and if Donald Trump worked an hour a day, he would have accomplished more than the Bidens, Clintons, and Obamas did. And look what this man is doing. I mean, he's an animal.
Yeah.
And the good news is there are a lot of other animals out there who see. I mean, Musk is claiming on X that his team is already on course to cut $1 trillion of waste, and perhaps as much as 2. He's been at this for 2 weeks.
I believe it, you know.
And one thing, I mean, I hope he goes back to the 10-point plan that's on charlesartel.com that I put up in 2014. It was published in the Washington Times in, I think, 12 separate articles, 1 introducing it, 10 explaining each point, and 1 summarizing. And maybe that site is not up anymore. I don't know. But
I can't reach it.
Okay, well, we'll have to get it, rejuvenate it. But a lot of things don't last in transition when you make a move. So maybe this is one of them. But that 10-point plan was up there. I'll try to get it back up there. But anyway, so look what
Trump. 2024.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll have to see what that's all about. But the Trump team has not even been fully seated at the top levels. And we have, for example, in the acting FBI director, we have somebody who doesn't appear to be cooperating as much as he should be. There's a report that he was asked by somebody to get the names of all the people who were involved prosecuting the J6 people and Trump, and he refused to provide all of the names. And by all the names, I think that's everybody on the team, not just the U.S. attorney or the prosecuting attorney. And so there is resistance. I noticed that J.D. Vance used, he's a smart guy, and I'm sure he came up with this himself, but he characterized the resistance as being akin to those Japanese military people who would emerge in the 1960s with bayonets between their teeth, some remote island in South Pacific, thinking that the emperor still had a chance. I mean, that's what I think you have in these idiots like AOC and Bill Kristol and Mike Pence and Anthony Scaramucci. None of these people have read the room properly. I mean, the war in Ukraine, for starters, which was motherhood and apple pie under Biden. Nobody asks why the Biden family was so interested in sending money to Ukraine. It had nothing to do with Hunter and the Biden family getting money back. Nothing at all, right? But here we go in and we say we sent close to $200 billion to Ukraine, and Zelensky's saying, hang on, I only got $77 billion.
Yeah, that's like the stupidest thing I ever heard of. He's like...
Yeah. Well, but it's also the playbook for the Clinton Foundation. I mean, that's the business model for charity fraud right there. You say that you raised a lot of money and you sent it to a cause, You don't send it to the cause. You steal as much of it as possible. That which you have to put through the cause, you claim that you spend it on worthwhile things. In reality, you allow friends to send you padded bills for services that you never really used, and your friends steal money that way, and of course don't report the income to the IRS. So it should be relatively straightforward now for the Trump team, as more and more people get into these offices and get rid of these crooks who have been illegally siphoning taxpayer funds to absurd causes, most likely enriching themselves and their friends along the way. As the team gets more stuck in, I think we're going to find lots of stories, and lots of good stories, and lots of prosecutions. And I want to give a shout out to @DataRepublican. I can't tell who this person is, but this person got a shout out and a follow, I think, from Musk. And so it's getting a hell of a lot of attention. What they've started to do, they have a tool. This person has developed a tool wherein you can insert an EIN or a name, and you can find government grants that are connected to the EIN or to the name. And they've been able to find, for example, that Catholic charities and other church charities are getting absurd amounts of money from our government, likely to finance the illegal alien invasion, which grew to mammoth proportions under Biden. And suddenly, illegal border crossings under Trump are down 93%. And you're telling me that the Mayorkas and Biden and Harris, hapless Harris, had no ability to do any of what Homan and Trump have done in 2 weeks? It's just amazing. So what we need to do now is we need to look at press releases that are put out by various people. Start at the Clinton Foundation with we just did this $2 billion fund. All right, let's see the evidence of that $2 billion fund. Who put the money in? Where did it go? What happened to the investments? Go through every single press release of the Clinton Global Initiative and the World Economic Forum and the Open Society Foundation, and check and see how much money really went to those causes and how much money was stolen. And I think you're going to find that a large amount of it was stolen. I know for which.
Yeah, this is a little screwy how this works. All right, let's try it again.
It could be that it's being overwhelmed with.
What's the Clinton EIN?
31, then hyphen 1580204.
No, nothing there. Let's try it without the hyphen. Huh.
As I say, it could be that it's being overwhelmed.
Right.
Or, even attacked.
Maybe it's not complete, or who knows?
No, it was working over the weekend when I was using it. But one really nice thing with this latest revelation on USAID, Doge tried to get into the offices of USAID and then into the databases. And then they were told that they didn't have the proper security clearances to get into USAID. And my first reaction is, if it's foreign aid, why is it classified? Right? I mean, there shouldn't be any classified foreign aid. Right? Foreign aid is supposed to be humanitarian, good works.
Yeah,
and I think and the scale of it, USAID wanted $43 billion in the latest budget request, 42 point something. And it was run by that idiot, Samantha Power.
She's married to Cass Sunstein.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of a girl? I mean, I can't say I'm the world's expert on managing, relationships with significant others, but, what kind of a woman who decides to have children with a ghoul like her husband, who published an article saying, please kill me when I turn 75. I mean, the guy's a fucking
super
lunatic.
Weirdo. Yeah.
I can't imagine finishing a meal with him, let alone deciding to, raise a family with this guy. I mean, so what kind of a ghoul is Samantha Power?
Yeah, they're weird.
And exactly what was USAID up to? Remember, everyone says, that Hillary Clinton and the toilet bowl server and the unvetted devices is old news. It is not old news. The issue was never, investigation was never framed properly. No
Agreed.
Secretary of State before or after Hillary Clinton has conducted 100% of the Secretary of State's business from toilet bowl servers and unvetted devices using alias email accounts. No one has ever done that other than her. No Secretary of State had a husband who was the ex-president with numerous fake foundations scattered around the world. That was the greatest cartoon ever produced. Jason, I've been meaning to tell you this, that people around the world are begging me for a sequel on this. Nonstop.
Where's Brian Pagliano?
You've got mail.
Maybe it's from Puma Aberdeen. Oh no, it's from Trey Gowdy.
We had two here, the ARB nor the previous congressional
None of these people are even relevant anymore, Charles. It's amazing, right?
Right.
Trey
Gowdy. But getting back to this issue of what Hillary Clinton was doing, there has never, for the period specifically, remember there's a long lag between the time that 990s, the annual reports to the IRS, are produced in the end of the reporting period. So the one for 2008 wasn't, or the one for 2007 wasn't issued until, I think, after the 2008 election. So if you were to go back through, as the FBI certainly could do with the IRS, the 990s for the various and sundry, and there are many of them, Clinton Foundation entities, all the 990s issued from, let's say, calendar after the election of 2008 through the present, but really more importantly through the term of Hillary Clinton's presidency, they're all fraudulent. They've made attempts to correct 2010, 11, 12, but they're all wrong, materially defective.
Charles. They've got a fraud alert on their website. It's like, hey, told you. We told you.
That's really hilarious, right?
That is rich.
Al Capone, please contact me if you hear any reports of gangsterism involving me.
Yeah.
Far be it from me to identify most of the ways in which we steal money, but here are some of them. So
we got to talk about the tariffs, I think, though, Charles, because what should people expect from that?
Tariffs are a momentary tool. They're a useful tool. I mean, they increase the cost of imported products, but there are alternatives to most imported products. So,
speaking of tools, what is Justin Trudeau still there? I thought he resigned. What the hell is he still doing here?
Well, why is there a border with Canada? I mean, I think Trump does make an interesting point that we really should think about more carefully, and that is that a lot has changed with technology. A lot has changed with advances in many aspects of how you run your life. And who is to say that Canada is indeed viable as an independent country? I don't know that it is. What do they produce? I mean, what happened is that going way back, the United States, big players in the United States were fearful that the United States would go communist. And so they decided that they wanted to have manufacturing alternatives in Canada and in Mexico. And so they created the car companies, for example, did that. But do you really need to produce cars in Ontario? And what's the advantage of doing that when you could do it in Texas?
Well, it's close to Detroit, I think, is how that sort of got worked out. But that's exactly it. They're saying like, we're going to retaliate against America with tariffs. It's like, okay, you're also simultaneously saying these tariffs are going to be, the expense will be borne by the citizens. So that means everybody in Canada is going to be paying a ton of money for virtually everything. And I mean, what the hell do we need from Canada, really?
Well, we don't need irritation. In Canada, look, Canadians, there are many fine Canadian people. This is not an attack on Canadian people. But as a country, if we were talking about a merit-based system, if we really want a G7 and a G8, which I don't, but if we really wanted it, why would Canada be in the G7? It's not a significant economy. it's certainly never going to be a super economy. And wouldn't it be a lot better off actually as a state or maybe two states? And think of the savings that you could accomplish there, right? And you wouldn't need the Canadian military to the same degree. You wouldn't need to publish everything in Canada in French. I mean, you start right there.
That's
I mean,
a whole can of worms right there, isn't it? The whole French.
I'd give Quebec to Cuba. I mean, or just give
Cuba, they could call it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, French can. Montreal is a nice place to visit. The French food is great. I think the big appeal of French Canada, wasn't it, that strippers are totally naked there?
Yeah.
As opposed, yeah.
Good strip clubs.
Yeah. Parenthetically, did you see that Laura Loomer has a tweet out where she's been to Sam's Club and she says, on the one hand,
razors or something for
buy a razor stepdaughter. That's pretty funny.
I was like, that's a lot of razor blades. Those are expensive.
That's a mean tweet, I guess. But she's been a victim of them, so she can. If she's going to receive them, she can give them, I suppose.
Well, but people are saying that the stock market is going to have some kind of negative reaction to these tariffs. Obviously, there's no way to know until tomorrow, but
I don't think it is at all. I mean, so the basic thesis. I'm very familiar, for example, with the situation in Toledo, Ohio. Even though the last time I was there was 1990. In 1989,
what situation?
I'll tell you. Toledo, Ohio used to be a thriving manufacturing base. It used to be huge. A lot of car plants, a lot of car parts plants. I got involved in 1988 and 89 evaluating what to do with Champion Spark Plug Company, and we decided to sell it. But the core of downtown Toledo, the situation in 89 was so bad that the town fathers got together and said, we need to do something called the Toledo Downtown Revitalization Corporation or something like that. So they chipped in money to create a nonprofit to try to revive downtown Toledo. And the situation was so bad that nonprofit had to go bankrupt. That's 1990. Now, after NAFTA, things got even worse. And so many, many towns in the heartland of America still today have large center cities that are filled with factories that are doing nothing, that are vacant, derelict, et cetera. And a decision needs to be made how to cope with it. You don't want to create yet another nonprofit so that AOC's family, for example, can have cushy jobs pretending that they give a shit about downtown Toledo. You don't want that. But now with these tariffs, there's going to be an argument for many foreign companies, instead of trying to sell their products out of Sweden into the United States, to set up take one of these factories, revitalize it, and sell the products inside America, in the process employing Americans. And the key, you have all these pointy head economics PhDs running around, including Nobel laureate Paul Krugman, who doesn't know the difference between his ass and a can of toothpaste. But a very simple concept to somebody like you or like me who's actually created businesses and run businesses in the United States is or anywhere, but when you do that, your workers take a significant portion of their salaries and turn around and buy goods and services in the communities where they live. When you ship a job outside the United States, you're not just losing the wages, you're losing the multiplier effect. And it's that multiplier, the giant sucking sound that Ross Perot is absolutely right about. That's going to be reversed now, because sensible people you have to have buyer's remorse about Joe Biden at this point. You can't believe that Joe Biden was actually the president of the United States and doing anything positive for this country. You just can't believe it. Watching what Trump has done, and then remembering that Biden didn't give any press conferences. When he did, he didn't speak English. He spoke
Right.
gibberish. It didn't answer questions. There's, all the statistics
How
that were
could
pumped
people
out.
not notice? I agree.
Right. So you look at this as an investor and you say, the vibe shift is more than a vibe shift. It's a seismic shift. Young people like Trump, minorities like Trump, women like Trump. It's not simply white male hunters. Trump is legend already. And Vance is now positioned. Vance is super sharp. And
Yeah, he had a
is
good
positioned.
interview this morning with Maria.
A series of good interviews, whether he's smacking Margaret Brennan down or doing a good job.
He is good at that. Real quickly, Charles, you were talking about jobs for AOC's family. Remember, her abuela needs some work. She has this really crappy apartment in Puerto Rico. Do you remember this? AOC took the pictures of abuela's apartment and then just never did anything to help her.
Doesn't look that bad to me.
Well, I think it's like got some buckets here where the ceiling is falling down. It doesn't look that good.
At least it's indoors.
I don't know. Abuela's living the rough life there. It's not exactly La Vida Loca in PR.
Yeah, but I mean, again, AOC, is that guy back in Washington Square Park? Or, Methuselah, is he back on the cardboard box
been
there?
Down there in a while.
Yeah, but I mean, that's AOC is she's not qualified to be called a moron. She's that dumb. I mean, she's really stupid, has not read the room. Maybe she'll continue to represent the communist section of New York State where she claims to live, but she's not going to become I don't think she'll become a senator. She's certainly not going to be president of the United States. And she's wasting too much airtime, as is Hakeem Jeffries. Good on Vance and good on the people who've been slapping dime store Obama around a bit for his comments that Democrats should take to the streets and fight. No, that's not what people should be doing right now. When Obama won convincingly in 2008, he said, "We won, you lost, get over it." That's what he said, and he proceeded to govern the country without talking to Republicans. And worse, he appointed that unindicted criminal, Eric Holder, as his wingman. In the Department of Justice, and they went around terrorizing conservative nonprofits, and worse. We still don't know just how diabolically awful the activities were of the Barack Obama administration from January 20th, 2009 until his departure. We do know so far that it is likely on January 5th, 2017, it is highly likely that Obama and Biden and many others conspired to let slip the dogs of war against the incoming Trump administration in ways that I think are illegal.
We have a slight correction from the comments, and I agree with this. We need to properly address Hakeem Jeffries as the Timu Obama.
What is Timu?
It's like the knockoff Amazon.
Oh, okay.
From China. The other thing is, the DOJ sent a letter now to Schumer. This is running the risk, at least, of being seen as, retribution against your political enemies. Ed Martin sent a letter. He's like, hey, remember that thing you said 5 years ago? I don't disagree, but this was, Schumer pretending to be tough, saying, you've released the whirlwind.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch. I want to tell you, Kavanaugh. You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean...
And this guy's supposedly...
You won't know what hit you.
Yeah, he's about to have a bowel movement or something.
Well, I actually think that it was good that Ed Martin did this, because what Schumer likes to do is give his diatribes on the Senate floor where he's completely protected. When he goes outside the Senate into Washington, D.C., into public, he's no longer protected. And
by the speech and debate clause, you mean?
Right, from the floor of the Senate. So he's not on the floor of the Senate making that speech. And this was a combustible moment. I mean, we see what happens. You videotaped, and I've participated in the broadcasts when we went around following the BLM maniacs around New York City. This is a combustible crowd that's paid for by George Soros, I would guess. directly and indirectly, and people like Soros, they get these rabble rousers. Many of them now are, I think, foreign students here on it, in theory, temporarily until they get deported. And they come to these events and they raise hell. And they were going to Gorsuch's house and Kavanaugh's house on the instruction of Chuck Schumer. How is that different? Well, how is it different and distinguishable from what Trump said on January 6th? Remember,
I think it's
Trump
way
said,
worse than what Trump said on January 6th. But Charles, let me interrupt because we've got to make our way over to the First Amendment Forum here. I hope people will join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Plenty more to discuss, so stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back.